Hi guys. So since we decided to skip lesson 5, this will be the last lesson for the week, so I'm just going to show you the student activity book pages filled out like I would fill out in class and you would follow along with me and do, and then I'll give you your assignment at the end. So it should be pretty quick because everything we have to do in this section we've already learned in all the other sections that we've talked about. So this section, lesson 4, is about classifying quadrilaterals, and classifying means kind of like organizing them and giving them names, pretty much is what classifying means. So that's kind of maybe new vocabulary, but so on page 311 it looks like this, and your directions are to place a check mark beside every name that describes the figure. Okay, so I've filled out all of these already. I'll discuss like the first 2 or 3 with you, and then I'll let you fill in the rest, and I'll hold it up so you can pause and compare your answers to what I've got in here. Okay, so number 1 can be called a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides, so I'm going to put a check mark there. It can also be a parallelogram because it has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel and the same length. Okay, so these 2 sides are the same length and they're parallel. These 2 sides are the same length and they're parallel, so it can be called a parallelogram. Okay, it could also be called a rhombus because a rhombus has all the same attributes as a parallelogram, but all 4 sides are the same length. This one kind of doesn't really look like they're all the same length. It almost looks like it's taller than anything, but a hint, if you were to just cover up like 2 of the sides and look at the adjacent sides here, because usually it's opposite sides that are equal, right? So now we're going to look at adjacent, which means side by side, and they meet at the corner. So I'm going to look there, and they actually do look like the same length once you do that. So that's kind of tricky sometimes. That's a good way to check it out. Okay, so it is not a rectangle or a square because there are no right angles or 90-degree corners, okay? So you can't check either of those for that reason. Okay, number 2, it is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. It's not a parallelogram because it only has 1 set of parallel sides, and parallelograms, sorry, have to have 2 sets. So we know that it's not a rhombus or a rectangle because those have to be parallelograms, so we can just skip those. But if we look, it is a trapezoid because the definition of a trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has exactly 1 pair of opposite parallel sides. So we can only check these 2 for number 2. Do you see where I'm going with this? You have to look through every single checklist and think, does it fit this description? Could it have multiple? Okay, because remember, a lot of quadrilaterals can have multiple names. Okay, the last one here that I'm going to do with you. This, when I look at it, I automatically think, okay, that's a square. So I'm going to check out square. And I know that a square is a special type of rectangle, so I can check that off. 4 sides, it's a quadrilateral, it's a parallelogram because it has opposite, parallel, and equal length sides. I can also call it a rhombus because remember, the definition of a rhombus is that it is a parallelogram, but it has 4 equal sides, equal length sides. So squares and rhombuses are special types of parallelograms, okay? So this one actually gets all 4. Okay, think about that for this one down here because it's just, it's called transformed. It's just moved a little bit on the corner. So think about that. Okay, I'm going to just hold this up so you can pause and fill them in as you see, so as you check your own work. Okay. I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this. Okay. Page 312, there's this nice table here and some questions down below, and it wants you to analyze quadrilaterals. So the directions say for each figure, put X's under the descriptions that are always true. So that means every single time, because some of them could work sometimes, but it's not every single time. Okay, so like a quadrilateral, like not really number 1, it's all number 10. For a quadrilateral, it has 4 sides every single time. It can have all of these other things, but it's just 4 sides every time. Or you can look at it up and down this way. 4 sides. Actually, let's go this way, it's easier. Sorry, that was confusing. Okay. See, I started marking across here because I didn't read the directions carefully the first time where it said always quadrilaterals don't always have both pairs of opposite sides parallel, all that jazz. Okay, so I went along and followed. Oh, this one's confusing. How did I go through this? I did this and I checked my answers and it worked. So you can follow along with what I've got here. Okay, every single time here, you can put 4 sides. So put an X in every single one of those. I think that's where I kind of messed up there. Yes, I just didn't finish that one because I got a little excited. Okay, so there should be an X in every single one of these right here because all of these things have 4 sides every single time. Okay, let me go fix that right now and I'll help you out. Then when you pause it, you can match yours with mine. Okay, and I can always make mistakes, so if it's not perfect, just like in class, right? Okay, so you can go ahead and pause and fill those in. Okay. Then it says use the finished chart above to complete each statement. So number 11 says parallelograms have all the features of quadrilaterals plus, okay, so I'm going to look here where it says, parallelogram. So they have all the features of quadrilaterals plus, I have X's on these two as well. So I'm going to say plus opposite sides are parallel and the same length. Okay, I didn't write like word for word this because I shortened it up a little bit, but that's what it would look like. Okay. Number 12, rectangles. So I'm looking here. Rectangles have all the features of parallelograms. So everything that's the same as parallelogram and rectangle. Sorry, they're skipped here. Plus, so let's see, I have these are the same, these are the same, these are the same. Plus, I have this here. So I wrote 4 right angles. Okay. And then number 13, squares have all the features of quadrilaterals plus, so the same thing, I went in and filled in squares, where's squares at here? All the features of quadrilaterals, so these are the same, plus these 4 things, okay? Because the quadrilaterals don't necessarily always have those, but squares have them every single time. Okay, and number 14, trapezoids have all the features of quadrilaterals plus, so you're gonna look at quadrilaterals, trapezoids, where did I put this here? Oh yeah, this one's tricky because it's not on the chart. I had to make this one up. Only one pair of opposite sides are parallel. So if you notice how up here, this says both. So I couldn't have checked that on trapezoid because both opposite sides aren't parallel. Okay, so I will hold this part up too so you can copy in what I've got or check your answers of what you've written. As long as it's similar, you're good to go. Okay, so next is page 313. It wants you to draw these 3 figures that are very specific. I know you can do that because we did a whole chunk on it with the last lesson. And then down here, it says, what's the error? Okay, so I want you to read this and think about it. It says, dear math students, today I had to draw a quadrilateral with parallel sides that is not a rectangle, square, or rhombus, which we already had to do that, right? This is my drawing. Is my drawing correct? If not, please help me understand why it is wrong. Your friend, Puzzled Penguin. Okay, I'm just going to give you a hint for this. Today I had to draw a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral has 4 sides. Look at the shape he drew. Count the number of sides. Okay, if you think about it, opposite sides are parallel. Every pair of opposite sides is parallel. So he got one part of it right, but there's one thing that he didn't get right. Okay, so write that answer down here. And, oh, this last part's kind of fun. I'm not doing this on camera because it's a little tricky to do on camera, but you can do it at home easily. So on page 314, what it wants you to do is cut out, or you could just look at them, if you could rip this page off and look, all the shapes here. Okay, they're all different quadrilaterals. It wants you to write the letter of each figure in the box that matches. Okay, so this big blue box means quadrilateral, right? So I'm gonna look here. Every single one of these shapes is a quadrilateral. So I'm gonna write A, B, C, you know, all the way down to get every single shape here. I'm gonna write that in this blue. Okay, then it wants to go to parallelograms. So I'm gonna find every single parallelogram. Can some parallelograms be rectangles or rhombuses or squares? Yes, so include every parallelogram. Okay, and so on and so forth until you've got some letters that name the shapes in every single section. And that's it, okay? So that's the end of your one whole chunk of math work already. Okay, your assignment is this page right here. Okay, 6-4 homework. And yep, just do 1 through 6, the whole thing, okay? The bottom is kind of like a test on how much you've been paying attention with why some shapes can be, like a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't always a square, okay? So that's kind of what number 6 is. Should be pretty much review for you at this point. And don't do this till next week when I do the lesson, okay? I mean, you can start if you want to, but I'll do the video on that next week. Okay, so that's everything I have. Remember, if you need to refer to other videos, you can grab your bookmarks and scan the QR code, and it will take you to my webpage where all of the videos are, okay? That's all I got for you. Okay, have a good weekend.